Vanakkam, Sabugona, and Annyeonghaseyo.
Hey, it's Tom and Trevor from GreenShortz, and today is video 10 of the camper build.
Video 10. What's happening today?
So today we're going to work on some more of the interior of the camper.
But first, I need to fix something.
As I was editing the last video, I heard myself saying this.
And in this case, rather than redoing it, I'm just gonna work around it.
The more I thought about it, the more I realized that leaks are gonna be the enemy of this camper. So I'm going to do this the right way the first time. I'm gonna take the kitchen out, put a new floor in here without the cutouts, seal it up well, and then attach the slide to the vertical elements there. I think that's the right thing to do.
TinkTube is the sponsor of this camper build series. TinkTube makes this system of pipes, connectors, and accessories to empower any DIY project.
Redoing the floor of the garage here is going to allow me to make a couple modifications that will improve its design.
In addition to getting rid of that cutout, which is where I think most of the moisture would have been wanting to get in, right behind that wheel, the mist would just want to soak through any crack. One modification I'm going to make is to add a little bit of overlap right here. Right now it's got about 1/8 of an inch sitting on top of this bar stock, and I would much rather have a good 3/4 of an inch to do that. So I'll widen this here on both sides. Of course, it'll notch around the post here and here.
I'll recycle these aluminum rivets with my cans. That's probably worth about 0.000006 pennies. I'm fighting that gasket. It's pretty snug.
I'll use what I just took out to make measurements for the new piece, and then I can cut it up into smaller pieces and reuse it. It's strong stuff. I think a little bit of
The residue on there isn't gonna matter.
it'll just reseal when I put the next gasket in.
You know this is a DIY channel, but it's also a DDIY channel. Don't do this yourself. GreenShortzDIY. We show you our mistakes so you don't have to make them.
Initially I thought I was going to have to cut these out, and that made me a little sad because that was such a nice strong connection here on both ends of the slide. But I don't think I have to remove them. I think what I'm going to do instead is just put the garage floor in here and put it in front of this bar. Then I'll be able to bolt those two pieces together through the ACM into this, and that will be a nice strong vertical connection there. Then I'll just fill the space between those two pieces with a piece of insulation wrapped in that gasket. That'll be enough to fill that gap tightly and keep any moisture from coming up in between those two pieces. With the new wider dimensions, I'm gonna need to remove this bar to get the floor in.
I love it when a plan comes together. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. Alright, so the revised garage floor is in. You can see I took this
back wall here up all the way to the top. That'll help keep it dry. I've got the folded over flashing behind there to really seal up that gap with the insulation in it. So I think this redo was worth the effort. It got a better overlap on the sides. The back flap here will connect to the back of the camper once that gets installed. And now all I have to do is reinstall the kitchen. I'm gonna have to use rivets because I can't get a bolt on the back with the insulation in the way. And I'll need to adjust the height of the risers on the kitchen because I've used up some of my clearance by adding this 1/4 inch of ACM. I'm going to secure the front wall to the tink tube pipe with some rivets. Now I need to take about, it's like a 1/2 inch off each of the risers on the front of the kitchen to work with this new clearance, or lack of clearance. The next step in finishing up the encapsulation is to make the pieces that cover the inside of the fenders and the gaps behind them. Those pieces will wrap around to the back as well. I'm going to start by making a cardboard template for the fender. And then getting the measurement to the back. I'm going to reuse my old garage floor piece for the first sidewall. Now I'm going to do a quick route and fold, but it needs to be on the other side of the piece. This piece wasn't exactly right the first time, so I had to make a few small adjustments. I recut the template for the other side because I knew they probably weren't going to be exactly the same. I also through bolted the back wall to the inside of the garage wall. I had to really sandwich that insulation in tightly. Choosing my ACM pieces carefully, I've been able to make parts and avoid some of the bad spots. Although this could probably be cleaned up and used for something. I did some countersinks with the router so that this panel will fit flush over the bolts.
Do a quick test fit. Alright, this one's good to go. We're going to be installing the side pieces and sealing things up with Fixo, which is a flexible epoxy adhesive from Total Boat. But first I need to add some more insulation to the top half of the back wall. If you're wondering about this insulation, this is actually left over from the construction of my house. It's a little ratty, but it'll still do the job of insulating. And more importantly, it's not in the landfill. I got this stuff out of the construction dumpster and saved it for a use like this. Alright, so I'm going to put some healthy beads of Fixo down, including sealing some of the gaps in the back side of the fender. Then we'll put the piece on and secure it with some rivets. And I'll guide it in. I'm going to do one rivet into the conduit behind the top here. I'll add a spacer so it doesn't bow in. I'm actually going to double up the spacers.
The last piece we're going to cut is going to be a big top piece that's going to go over the left fender, over the top of the garage, and then over the right fender as well. Eyes and ears, JW.
Got a notch out around the brackets. We can use the piece we cut out to trace the outline on the other side. All right.
The test fit is good. We're going to pull it out and put on the adhesive.
Alright, Trev, I think we're actually finished with the inner tub, if you will. Got the garage back here, which I redid in this video, and I think I improved on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the side pieces in over the fenders, covering these gaps in the back, and then the back wall here. Now, we got this nasty piece here, but that's okay because this is going to be covered with insulation and then a rubberized flooring. What are your thoughts on this stage of the build?
I think it's finally starting to, form. It's easier to see what it's going to look like later on. And you can kind of see some of our thinking ahead for the insulation with kind of some of these overlaps here. And I think it's, starting to see some really nice progress.
This was a tedious bit because we were building inside of this frame. We had to do those notch outs. We had to drill holes a couple times because it was hard to see. But I do think now that we're going to be applying things to the outside, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, I was able to, practice a little bit more on the jigsaw and use the hot riveter again and put in some adhesive.
You're definitely becoming proficient with the jigsaw riveter as well. So it's nice to see you picking up some skills on those tools. I have to say, Trevor, this was your most riveting performance.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I had to. Thanks to TinkTube for sponsoring this series, and all of this stuff was made possible by TinkTube. It's a great system to work with. You can see the versatility of it. Adds a lot of flexibility to this project. You can get a 10% off discount on your first order, and I'll put that coupon code below. A special thanks to our patrons and members for helping make these videos possible. If you'd like to join us on Patreon or in the membership section here on YouTube, you can check out the description below.
As always, our mission here at Green Shorts is to help you see green so you can be green and save a little green by doing it yourself.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next Saturday.